Here's something your Norse mythology textbook quietly glossed over. Loki didn't just father a few problematic children, he gave birth to one of them himself, as in carried the pregnancy, delivered the foal, the whole situation. That child became Odin's eight-legged horse, Sleipnir. Loki was the mother. This is canonical. The ancient Norse just wrote it down, and apparently nobody in the room asked any follow-up questions. So here's what should be keeping you up at night. If your father is a shape-shifting, reality-bending agent of chaos who once got pregnant by a stallion and whose children include a world-ending wolf, a half-dead goddess, and a literal serpent large enough to wrap around the entire planet, what exactly does that make you? And what are the other gods already planning to do about it? Sit down. By the end of this, you'll understand that being Loki's kid isn't a family situation. It's a cosmic threat assessment.
Your father isn't the bad guy, he's the necessary one. Every villain needs an origin story, right? Except Loki isn't the villain. He never was. The gods just needed someone to blame, and Loki was too smart, too useful, and too honest to survive that political environment unscathed. Sound familiar? It should.
Let's get the propaganda out of the way first, because the Aesir gods, Odin, Thor, the whole Asgard establishment, have had centuries to write the official narrative, and shockingly, it doesn't portray the one guy who kept exposing their incompetence in a particularly flattering light. Here's what the myths actually show when you read them without the editorial spin. Loki solves more problems than he creates. The walls of Asgard, built because Loki negotiated a deal, then got them out of paying when it went sideways. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, exists because Loki commissioned it after causing a problem and then fixed the problem better than it was before. Odin's spear, his eight-legged horse, the golden hair of Sif, all Loki's work, directly or indirectly. The gods needed Loki. They just deeply resented needing him. And there is no more human or divine dynamic than resenting the person who is genuinely indispensable to your operation. As his kid, you inherit that position, the one who sees through the theater, the one who solves the unsolvable problem using methods nobody wants to look at too closely. The room needs you and will never quite admit it.
Your siblings are literal apocalypse engines. Most people have complicated family dynamics, maybe a difficult sibling, an awkward cousin. Your brothers and sister are literally scheduled to end the world. One of them is already on Odin's personal threat assessment list. Another one wraps around the entire planet. Let's meet the family.
Let's meet the family, because you need to know who's sitting at the dinner table before you pull up a chair and reach for the bread. Fenrir, a wolf, not a regular wolf, a wolf that the gods considered so existentially threatening that they commissioned magical dwarf-forged chains to bind him. Chains made from impossible ingredients, including the sound of a cat's footstep and the beard of a woman. He is prophesied to swallow Odin himself at Ragnarok. Your big brother is literally on the apocalypse schedule. Jörmungandr, a serpent so large it encircles the entire world and bites its own tail. Thor's designated nemesis, prophesies to kill Thor at Ragnarok, after which Thor will take exactly 9 steps before dying from the venom. Middlemost sibling energy, destructive, dramatic, impossible to ignore. Hel, goddess and ruler of the Norse realm of the dead. Half her body is living flesh, the other half is corpse. She manages literally everyone who doesn't die in battle, the divine HR department for death itself. And then there's Sleipnir, technically your sibling, also technically Loki's son from his time as a mare. 8 legs, fastest horse in existence. Odin rides him personally. Your family tree is less a tree and more a controlled demolition.
The shape-shifting inheritance. Your father once became a horse, got pregnant, and gave birth to an 8-legged foal. That sentence is completely real and documented in ancient Norse texts. Nobody flinched, nobody asked questions, and the reason that matters for you is weirder than the story itself.
Your father can become anything, literally anything. He's been a salmon, a mare, a fly, an elderly woman, a seal. He changes form the way other people change opinions, fluidly, strategically, and usually when the situation calls for a solution that his current shape can't provide.
This is not a party trick. This is a fundamental metaphysical flexibility that means Loki relates to identity in a way that is completely alien to the other gods. Thor is always Thor. Odin performs different roles but remains distinctly Odin. Loki has no fixed form. He has a fixed self, mischievous, intelligent, fiercely loyal when he decides you've earned it, but the container that self inhabits is negotiable. As his kid, this inheritance manifests differently in different sources. Some of Loki's children are shapeshifters themselves. Others carry the genetic memory of transformation in subtler ways, an adaptability, a social fluency, an ability to read what any given room needs and become that thing. The gods find this unsettling. Beings who cannot be pinned to a fixed form, cannot be fully predicted, cannot be fully controlled. And a child of Loki who has inherited even a fraction of that fluidity is by definition a variable in every equation the Aesir have already solved for. Why Odin is simultaneously your uncle and your problem. Imagine your uncle is the most powerful, most paranoid, most strategically calculating being in existence, and he already knows exactly what your family is going to cost him. He loves you. He's also keeping files on you. Both things are true, and neither one cancels each other out. Here's where the family politics get genuinely complicated, and they were already pretty complicated given that your father once ate a witch's heart and became pregnant through a series of decisions the myths decline to fully explain. Odin and Loki are blood brothers. They made an oath, the kind of divine oath that predates Asgard's current political structure. This means Odin technically cannot act against Loki without violating a sacred bond. This also means that as Loki's child, you exist within the protective umbrella of that oath, whether Odin personally enjoys that fact or not. But Odin is also the most paranoid being in Norse mythology. He sacrificed his eye for wisdom. He hanged himself on Yggdrasil for 9 days to gain the runes. He collects information the way other people collect anxiety. He has already seen, through various prophetic means, what Loki's children will eventually do to his world. So your uncle by oath is a man who loves your father in the complicated way that people love necessary problems, genuinely, historically, and with a constant background awareness that this relationship is going to cost him enormously. You are in Odin's strategic calculations, simultaneously kin to be protected and variable to be monitored. That's a fun dynamic to navigate at family gatherings. The Ragnarok problem. Here's something that should genuinely keep you up at night. The apocalypse already has a cast list. The roles are assigned, the ending is written, and your family isn't in the background. Your family is the event. You didn't sign up for this. Nobody asked. The universe just went ahead and scheduled it anyway. Here's the part nobody mentions when they're romanticizing Norse mythology for TV adaptations and tattoo designs. Ragnarok isn't just an apocalypse, it's a scheduled event. The gods know it's coming. They have the guest list, they know the roles, they know approximately how it ends. And Loki's children are not background characters in that event. Fenrir kills Odin. Jörmungandr kills Thor. Loki himself captains a ship made of dead men's nail clippings sailing toward the final battle. Your family doesn't just attend the apocalypse. Your family is structurally load-bearing in the apocalypse. What does this mean for you? Cosmically speaking, you exist in a narrative that has already been written. The Norse concept of fate, weird, is literal predetermination, enforced by the Norns who carved destiny into Yggdrasil itself. The dark comedy is that the gods know this, and they still chained Fenrir, still tried to manage Jörmungandr, still attempted to avert a fate the universe had already decided. And somehow, in trying to prevent what was written, they may have guaranteed it.
Your inheritance includes a destiny that the most powerful beings in existence already tried to cancel. They failed. What does that tell you about what you're carrying?
Loki's punishment and what it did to your family. Your father stood up at a divine dinner party and told every single god exactly what they were. Every lie, every affair, every embarrassing secret. It was the greatest roast in the history of any mythology ever. The god's response was to put him in a cave forever. This chapter is about what that actually cost your family.
After the death of Baldur, the beloved, the shining, the one everyone actually liked, Loki crossed a line that the Aesir decided was final. He had maneuvered the blind god Hodr into throwing mistletoe at Baldur, killing him. When confronted at a feast, Loki proceeded to deliver the Lokasenna, a comprehensive, merciless roast of every single god present, exposing their hypocrisies, affairs, cowardices, and secrets with surgical precision. It was, objectively, the greatest clapback in the history of any mythology. The god's response was to capture him, transform his son Narfi into a wolf who tore apart his other son Vali, use Vali's entrails as the chains binding Loki to 3 rocks in a cave, and place a serpent above him, dripping venom onto his face for eternity. His wife Sigyn holds a bowl to catch the venom. When she has to empty it, the drops hit Loki, and his thrashing causes earthquakes. As your father, this is his current condition. Not dead, not free, bound underground, in agony, occasionally causing seismic events. The most brilliant mind in Norse mythology, the being who helped build Asgard, is in a cave because he told the truth too loudly and the people in power couldn't handle the invoice. Your father is a political prisoner of divine bureaucracy. Process that.
The intelligence inheritance. Every other god has a weapon. Thor has a hammer, Odin has a spear. Your father's weapon is his mind, and it's the only thing in Norse mythology that consistently beats everything else in the room. The catch? It also consistently gets him into more trouble than any hammer ever could. You've inherited both sides of that equation.
Every other Aesir god has a domain. Thor has thunder and strength, Odin has wisdom and war, Freyr has fertility and prosperity. Loki's domain, if you had to name it, is intelligence applied without constraint. He is the only Norse god who consistently solves problems that brute force cannot address, using approaches that nobody else would consider, because nobody else's mind bends in the directions his does. He is also the only Norse god who regularly makes things significantly worse through excessive cleverness. These two facts are not unrelated. As his child, the cognitive inheritance is the most valuable and most dangerous thing you carry. The ability to see angles nobody else sees, to find solutions inside problems, to navigate social and political structures by understanding them more clearly than the people running them. The trap, and it's a trap Loki himself never fully escaped, is that being the smartest person in the room can become its own prison. When your intelligence outpaces everyone around you, the temptation is to stop taking their reactions seriously, to treat consequences as other people's problem, to be so focused on the elegance of the solution that you miss the relational damage the solution causes. Loki's tragedy is not that he was evil, it's that he was brilliant in a world that preferred simple. You've inherited that exact tension. Use it carefully.
What trickster actually means. People hear trickster god and they think pranks, whoopee cushions, harmless chaos. That is the most wrong interpretation possible. The trickster in world mythology is something much more specific, much more necessary, and honestly much more dangerous than a prankster. And it's exactly what you are.
The word trickster has been defanged in the modern translation of mythology. We hear it and we think pranks, mischief, harmless chaos, a cosmic jester with a whoopee cushion. That is not what Loki is, and it is not what a trickster deity represents in the mythological traditions that include them. The trickster archetype across world mythology, Loki, Coyote, Anansi, and Hermes in certain moods, serves a specific structural function. They exist at the boundaries between order and chaos, between gods and humans, between what is permitted and what is necessary. They do the things that the respectable, rule-following order cannot do without compromising itself. Loki lies, he manipulates, he shapeshifts, he operates outside the rules that Odin enforces on everyone else. And crucially, Asgard needs this. The myths show it repeatedly. The tidy divine hierarchy cannot solve every problem through sanctioned means, so the being who operates outside sanctioned means is indispensable. As his child, you are not merely mischievous, you are structurally positioned at the margins where the rules meet their limits. That's not comfortable, it is frequently lonely, but it is also where genuine change comes from, in mythology and in reality. The trickster doesn't maintain the world, the trickster remakes it.
The other gods and how they'll treat you. You're about to navigate a social environment where everyone already has an opinion about you before you open your mouth. Thor will probably hit you first. Odin is already running calculations. Freya might actually be useful. And the rest of them? They'll smile at you while quietly hoping you're nothing like your father. Spoiler, you are.
Let's be practical about your social environment, because knowing the political landscape is basic survival intelligence when you're a child of the most controversial figure in the Norse pantheon. Thor. Complicated. He and Loki have the closest thing to a genuine friendship in the myths. They go on adventures together, they bicker constantly, they save each other repeatedly. Thor is not subtle enough for long-term resentment. As Loki's kid, he'll probably hit you first and feel bad about it second. Progress, of sorts. Odin, watchful. He sees everything, remembers everything, and has already calculated what you're likely to become. His treatment of you will be strategic rather than emotional. He'll be kind when it serves his purposes and distant when it doesn't. Treat it as information, not affection. Freya, potentially useful. She has her own complicated relationship with divine authority and a much more flexible moral framework than the official Asgard line suggests. She may be the closest thing to a genuine ally in the upper tier. The Aesir as a collective, they will never fully trust you. You carry Loki's name and Loki's legacy, and they bound your father in a cave for telling the truth. Their discomfort with you is a feature, not a bug. It means they know what you're capable of.
So what do you do with this bloodline? We've been through the apocalypse schedule, the cave, the siblings who end worlds, the uncle who loves you strategically, and the brain that's both your greatest weapon and your biggest liability. So here's the only question that actually matters now. Knowing all of this, what do you actually do with it? Because the mythology already answered that, and the answer is not what you expect.
All right. We've covered the apocalypse schedule, the cave imprisonment, the siblings who are prophesied to end the world, the uncle who loves you strategically, and the cognitive inheritance that is equal parts gift and trap. So here's the actual question. What do you do with it? The Norse mythological framework doesn't offer clean answers. It doesn't traffic in redemption arcs or chosen one comfort. What it offers instead is something harder and more honest. The acknowledgement that fate exists, that it is real, and how you conduct yourself within it still matters enormously. Not because it changes the outcome, but because the conduct is the point. Loki, chained in his cave, still has Sigyn beside him. He made choices that cost him catastrophically, and he also, across the length of his story, loved people genuinely and helped them without any possible personal benefit. Both things are true. They don't cancel each other out. As his child, you carry the chaos and the cleverness, the marginalization and the indispensability. You exist in a world that will find your nature unsettling and then desperately need exactly that nature at the worst possible moment. The mythology doesn't tell you to be good or evil. It tells you to be real, to be exactly what you are, completely, without apology, and with the full awareness that the consequences of authenticity in a world that prefers performance are often severe. Be Loki's kid anyway. The cave was the God's answer to the truth. It was never the end of the story.